welcome to this week's video on graduate scheme application tips. So this will start from the very start of the process. So your CV and cover letter, and then it will go all the way up to those assessment centres and then final interviews. I've already released a whole separate video on this, so do check that out and make sure that this video does not overlap with that. This is a video that's been requested by some of you, and so let's get into it today. So before we actually get on to anything at all in terms of applying, I really think I need to stress here how important it is to do your research. Before you apply, understand the company that you're applying to, know a bit about their background, their rewards, their values, things like that. And then also really just make sure to understand the role, because it will just show massively throughout if you don't. What also kind of goes hand in hand with doing your own research is also just speaking to others. Speak to others who are currently members of the firm who will be able to give you more of an insight. You should also then hopefully through them be able to find out a bit more about the role and just really know what it is that you're applying to. So that's kind of the first bit before doing any kind of applications online. Just really speak to people and also just make yourself aware of all the different schemes that there are out there. There's honestly so many different websites. There's the Bright Network, there's Grad Jobs, there's Target Jobs, the list just goes on and on, there's so many. And of course you can apply to companies direct as well, so if you have got companies in mind where you do want to potentially work, then have a look at their career site as well and see what else is on there. So now, assuming you've done all of that, you're now ready for the application stage. This is a place where I'll say do not rush, really try and take your time with it and really apply and tailor it to the specific company and the specific role. So I've personally found what's just been really important for me is just having a really good CV that is, up to date. It's got a lot of information about me from all different parts of my life, and I can really just give a 360 picture of myself. Mine was actually a skills-based CV, which is slightly different to the typical traditional based. And I'd really recommend looking into that a bit more, because for me, the reason I use that skills-based is because I didn't really actually have much experience relevant to audit at the time. And so I thought showing my transferable skills probably will really help. So as mentioned in that TikTok, essentially I will be also offering those CV templates out. So that's available for you to have a look at here. And you could also potentially send me your CV through booking some time with me here. And essentially I'll be able to send you some comments and just let you know my thoughts. So that's the CV hopefully covered. Then the next bit is actually the cover letter, which most also do ask for. So on the cover letter, I guess what worked for me is it was pretty much a standard template for each, but like I said, I would just tailor it to each company as I went along. And I just really tried to get my passion across and the different skills that I've built up. And it was just kind of a summary of why I essentially wanted to work for that company and also to do that role. So there should be some good cover letter templates out there. Potentially this is something I'll look into sharing as well, but do drop it in the comments below if that's something you would be interested in. And then following the upload of the CV and the cover letter, there might also be some specific questions that they want to ask you. Usually these questions have character limits as well, so really make sure that what you're writing in those boxes are just well thought out, shows that you've done your research and are just pretty concise. So what I found is that they might sometimes kind of throw in one of those commercial awareness questions where they kind of ask you something about the industry or any specific technology. Those are the types of questions that I personally have struggled with in the past. But what I found that helps is just speaking to, again, others who are in the current role and who should hopefully know more and can steer you in the right direction. And then you can then go away and do your own research and come back to it. So what I would just say is do just take your time with your applications. Don't just blank apply everywhere, because sometimes it might be quite obvious with that. Do just spend the extra few minutes to try and really just tailor it. So hopefully then that will get you through the first screening round, and now it will bring you on to the different types of tests that they could ask you to do. So these could be like numerical tests, maybe logical tests, I'm not sure, maybe some kind of personality tests. For me personally, I think I was always kind of okay on the numerical test because I come from quite a mathematical background. But if it isn't your strong point, then I would just recommend Googling or just searching for any kind of practice numerical tests. Even going in the student room to see kind of what things they're saying about it, or even maybe Glassdoor has probably some input potentially, but just see what there is out there, and maybe you can try and get some practice in before you do actually do it, especially if it is a job that you really want. I guess hopefully you are as well, just really applying wide. I think having more practice and doing more tests, it really should help you hopefully secure the job that you do want. So for me, for example, I was applying much wider than just the Big Four, and that's just because there are strength in numbers, I feel, and it just really helps to get more and more practice. So someone did actually recently ask me about how to go about the personality test, and I just really think it's best kind of to just keep in mind the core values of the firm, but also then just, I feel like you should just be honest. It's as good as an opportunity to find out if you're a good fit for the firm as well as if they're a good fit for you. The reason as well I'd say to be honest is just because they might get you to redo these tests later on, for example at the assessment centre, and you just really wouldn't want that to be your downfall. So definitely do just try and practice these tests where you can, and then hopefully now you'll make it onto the next stage. So things have probably changed a lot since I last applied, but I'm going to assume that the next stage is an assessment centre. So I previously actually had an online assessment centre, but then I've also had many in-person assessment centres as well. So just the point on the online one, I've just found as well, just really don't worry. For example, when I had to write an email, I was really stressed out because I ran out of time. It literally cut off mid-sentence, and I thought that there's no way that I'd done well in it, but I still did get through to the next stage. So that just goes to show me that I just really shouldn't overthink it, and hopefully, you know, the things that you've done in it up to that time does just prove enough. So going into assessment centre tips, I have recently done a video on this with James Wright, ACCA. So essentially I will just cover kind of my main tips. The first, and I will always say, is just be yourself. It's so important to just be yourself, because I feel like it will just really show if you're kind of not. And of course, being yourself should really hopefully be enough. So next, I'd also say in group situations, really try and just have a role. So what I found works, and what I'd like to do, is actually be the timekeeper. And of course you do need to make sure then that you're keeping the time, because if you don't, I mean, that will probably be your downfall. But, you know, taking in a little stopwatch and, you know, being that timekeeper, that automatically gives you some group involvement. So what also helps is, I think, making sure that you are listening to others and also just giving each other time to speak. So they probably at this point want to see that you can work well in a team and you can just get on with people, and that's why I think being yourself is probably enough. And perhaps as well, there might be someone who is quieter in the group, and I think what goes a long way is if you're that person that kind of asks them, you know, for their input and what they're kind of thinking, and really just makes it more inclusive. A lot of this I found is probably just about your personality, and so yeah, do just let it shine through and hopefully it does you justice. One great point as well that James did mention is that pretty much from the start to the end of the assessment centre, even from the moment you walk in to the moment you walk out, it is all assessed. So do just be really careful and mindful of that. I guess the real basics that I can just think about from my previous experience is, if it's presenting, make sure it's kind of split somewhat evenly, and during your time to present, if you are presenting back to, you know, the judges or whoever's assessing you, then do make sure to just speak clearly, have good eye contact, and hopefully that does enough. So as mentioned, I have a whole separate video already on final interview practice, so do check this video out and hopefully that gets you through right to the end. So if you made it this far, thank you for watching. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, then do give it a like, and any questions at all, do drop them in the comments box below and I'll be happy to answer those. It would also be really good as well actually if you shared how you're getting on with some of your applications, so also drop that below. I'd love to hear that. And as always, I will be back with more videos every single week, so make sure you do subscribe and hopefully you'll see me again soon. Thanks.